as I watched the presentation of where we had gone as human beings, and I didn't see me. And out of that awe and out of that thrill came a feeling of disenfranchisement. I did not see myself in the present space program. I didn't see myself as a Black, and I didn't see myself as a woman. Here I was involved in projecting a future of what our space program where it could take us, and I wanted to be there, not in fantasy, not 300 years from today, but now.
Welcome, everyone, to Deep Space Pride, a gay Star Trek podcast. I am one of your hosts, Johnson Lee, and with me is Mike Thurlow, my co-host. Mike, how are you doing this fine Tuesday? An odd day for us to be recording, but
yeah, it is.
Tuesday.
Yeah, happy Tuesday. I'm doing well.
Is it a happy Tuesday? It's a mediocre Tuesday.
Well, I mean, are you happy it's over, or is it not over for you?
It's not over. No.
Oh, okay. Well,
it's ongoing. Literally, it's literally ongoing.
Well, I'm doing well for a Tuesday anyway. Yes,
it's almost Wednesday, which means it's almost Thursday. So that's one way to look at it.
That is one way to look at it. Yeah. So, yeah, no, things are going fine. Things are good. No complaints here.
Well, you do need to cook after we record this podcast, and you have a slab of frozen meat apparently to work with. So
I do, yes. I forgot to take out the meat out of the freezer, and so yes, we will, make do.
Planning fail, but
planning fail. Yeah,
this is where we are, and this is what we have to work with.
Yeah, so, we ordered out last night, so we, and we're, back on the diet ish, eating better. So we.
Are you losing weight?
No, I'm not losing weight. No, I'm maintaining.
Oh. Even though that happens to me too. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, I can eat less or more, and I stay at 133 to 134. It's like I have a pocket of matter and subspace that I can just tap into or put things into. And I don't actually gain any weight or lose any weight. So I don't know.
Well, that's advantageous. I think I'm still at the weight that I sort of gained through the COVID quarantine. So,
okay.
which is only 15 pounds, but it's still 15 pounds heavier than from a year ago. So it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, I lost a pound over the past year.
All of our listeners can hate Johnson because he lost weight through quarantine.
Yeah, I lost it was like 1.25 pounds or something.
Great. Yes.
Which is outside my normal fluctuation zone.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yes.
So.
Oh man.
Here we are.
And we're back this week to continue our series.
Yeah. So for those of you that did join us for our last episode or didn't join us for our last episode, we have a short series celebrating Black History Month. And for this episode, we want to watch Woman in Motion, which is the new documentary that chronicles a little bit of Nichelle Nichols. I mean, it has the context and the background of Nichelle Nichols' stint on Star Trek, obviously, and that's a setup. But then it goes a little bit into, I mean, the whole point is that it goes into her collaboration with NASA and how she really recruited women and minorities into the space program in the 70s, 80s. I did not pay attention. When I watched the documentary, something like that.
I mean, it was. I think it was the early 80s.
Early 80s. There we go.
I think so.
So we, it was just released, and we thought that it would be a great way to celebrate Black History Month and celebrate Nichelle Nichols, who was obviously the first Black woman featured in a Star Trek series. So we'll get to that in a bit. But before we do that, Mike, did you have anything that you wanted to mention or add to the podcast before we dive in?
Well, I mean, we can thank we'll thank our sponsors, Fansets, up front here. And
Fansets.
And so since we're talking about her, I thought I'd talk a little bit about the pins that Fansets has for them, and also the pin that I have. So I fortunately got on the bandwagon early and was able to get a Star Trek Las Vegas.
So lucky.
Well, I mean, it's a not one of a kind, but it's an original Uhura Woman of Trek Fansets pin from Star Trek Las Vegas 2019. So that is on their website if you search for Uhura, but it's not available anymore. I was able to get onto the list back in the summer of 2019 and get it. But they do have their series
2019
one.
feels like a long time ago, by the way.
It feels like a century ago, really.
Yeah.
That
pin is ancient pin.
But they do have a series one, an alternative Uhura series one, the Women of Trek, Nyota Uhura one that is also available. And then they do have 2 micro crew collector's pins as well for Uhura. So
what?
I do not have micro crew. So so last week I alluded to how I got a delivery from Fansets. Well, part of that delivery was a pin that I got Johnson. I got
Boimler.
Micro crew Boimler.
It was kind of small.
The lower decks ones seem to be much thinner and smaller than the other ones. But there are 2 Uhura ones on the website, one in her classic uniform and then also one in her mirror universe outfit, which shows a little bit more skin. So there's some great Uhura pins at Fansets, and if you use the code DS Pride, that's DS Pride, all in capital letters, you can save 10% on your order. And
does the capitalization really matter, or?
I don't know, to be honest.
Listeners, you should try it out and let us know. Yeah. Do it all lowercase and let us know the promo code works, because I have no idea.
I don't remember. I think I did all uppercase when I placed my order. So
okay, well, next time you can live on the edge and try all lowercase and see what happens.
There we go. So we want to thank Fansets for sponsoring Deep Space Pride and all of the podcasts.
Yes.
All of the podcasts of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network.
One day on television, it came on as news.
Were ultimately chosen to become astronauts.
They mentioned my name, and my son came running to me and said, Mom, come quick, your people are on television. And I said, what? I think he's talking about my TV show. And I says, of course we're on TV, darling. He says, no. Your people that go up. And I came running and I saw, and there they were. Well, this might sound a little corny, but it felt like my children. And my heart, it pounded. And I knew the world will never be the same again. We would go on to great heights. And to think that I had the slightest thing to do with it makes me know that all things good are possible.
Cool. So why don't we get into the meat of the episode, which is our recap? I don't know what it is, of Woman in Motion.
Yeah, I know you weren't really enthusiastic about watching a documentary, but
No. Documentaries are not my thing. I get really bored. Even like nature documentaries, which usually are the type of documentaries that kind of interest me. Um, I don't know. I just don't have patience for it. Usually, I'm not one to put aside a time and be like, oh, yeah, let's sit down and watch a documentary. I know they're like huge documentary fans. Obviously, I think like uh, like real crime is that the category? Like,
I
making a murder or
guess.
things like that.
Yeah.
That, technically those are documentaries as well. And those have, I mean, I think really since Making a Murderer, that really caught on as a subgenre of documentaries. But even that, more of a thriller, I would say, of a documentary, they don't usually interest me. So when you suggested that we watch this film, I was less than enthusiastic, to say the least.
Yeah. But I'm not the biggest fan of documentaries either. But this one I found to be really fascinating and enjoyable. And I learned a little bit more about. I had no idea, first of all, that Nichelle Nichols had the impact
I knew
that
nothing.
she did on NASA.
I knew
Uh,
that.
Side note: I did meet Nichelle Nichols back in 2017 here in New York at New York Comic Con and got a picture with her and her autograph. So
2017 is like 1,000 years ago.
it is, but I have the picture and the autograph. So and one of the things when I think back
Did you
to
like
that,
talk to her, or was it just like, hey?
I don't remember exactly what I said to her. I thanked her and said it was a pleasure to meet her. And one of the things I did notice is that she was getting up in age and
Mhm.
was and it probably was a long day, sitting there signing autographs and everything for her. She was, she seemed, she seemed fragile in some ways.
I
But
mean, she's no spring chicken.
she's not, but she's very beautiful, kind soul, just a wonderful smile. Like, so it was really a pleasure to meet her and to get a picture with her back
Mhm.
then. So, her. So I grew up watching the original series, not in reruns,
No.
not that old, but it was my entry into Star Trek, and so
Right.
I got to see her on the bridge. That was something that for me was didn't necessarily stand out at the time because I felt like the whole crew was kind of representative of the world in general.
Mhm.
But one of the things that I remember, and maybe why it didn't stick out to me is, and this is sort of a story from my youth a little bit, but so at my grandmother's house where I spent a lot of time and a lot of years growing up, uh, on our street, there was a bully further down the street,
Oh.
but also on the corner of the street and at the end of the street was this house, this very big house, I remember. And inside was an African American family.
I thought
And
you were gonna say that Nichelle Nichols lived there.
no, I was not. No.
Okay.
So, but there were four African American daughters who lived in that house, and they looked out for me. They were kind of like, yeah. So and I wish I wish my grandmother was alive to talk to her about this and find out who those people were. I don't know if I haven't talked to my mom or my uncle about it, but so having Black people around while I was growing up was something that was normal. And this is in rural Maine. So this is not New York City. This is,
Right.
Maine.
Yeah.
But for me, like having those four girls looking out for me as a little kid, and I was a tiny kid. I was small, I was super skinny, like a strong wind would knock me over
No.
if and I also had glasses since I was in second grade. So
Yes,
a lot of
yes.
reasons to be picked on.
Just compound the nerdy,
Yes,
like the nerdyisms.
totally. So, but having these four young women looking out for me really was really great. And so I guess when I saw Star Trek, I didn't, it just made sense to me and looked normal. Now I know that that's not the common experience
No.
for a lot of people, but she was always someone who really did stick out for me in the show as someone who, it was great to see the kind of the whole representation on Star Trek of every country. So
right.
watching this and kind of hearing about her beginnings, also hearing about her, she and Gene had some sort of relationship early on before he met Majel. So that was interesting to kind of learn.
That was in a documentary?
Maybe that wasn't in the documentary. No, you know what? That is from our friends, the Sci-Fi Sisters, who talked about Uhura.
Oh, okay.
A couple of weeks ago.
Okay.
On, Trek
I'm sure it's probably also buried somewhere in Memory Alpha.
Probably, but
I feel like I read this before.
I knew. Well, I didn't know this at all. I had no idea, and then I did hear it from the Sci-Fi Sisters, and shout out to them. They are joining the Trek Geeks podcast network, which is exciting.
Yes.
So when I was watching the documentary and seeing the scenes where Nichelle and Jean were together, it was interesting to think, oh, I wonder what time frame this was, and like when, were they still, was this pre-Majel, post-Majel? It's hard to know. So
who knows?
So yeah, I learned a lot about Nichelle. I mean, I knew most of the stories about her coming on the show and her wanting to leave the show. I did really love to hear the deep dive into how she met, from her own words. I've always heard it like secondhand. I've heard it from Whoopi, or I've heard it through other places that she met Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And
he said, you don't understand the effect that you are having, not only on Black people, not only on young women, but on everybody. Everybody's mind and attitude is changed immeasurably simply because you are there.
Oh yeah, I think I read that somewhere.
Yeah, so I've never heard her tell that story. So it was really powerful to hear her tell that story. So that was really interesting as well. And then so I mean, the first part of the first like third of the movie was kind of about Star Trek and how she got involved.
Set up. It was
about her early career.
Yeah, exactly.
She had a fascinating early career. I mean, a singer and a dancer with a traveling band, and just, I mean, really, really interesting background story. So I mean, I think I respect her and love her even more after watching this, especially when we get into the whole NASA bit.
Right.
What kind of stood out for you?
Well, yeah, I think we've talked about this before. I don't remember what episode. I am definitely not as much of a TOS aficionado as I am when it comes to all the other series. I tried to do a watch of the original episodes, and I'll be honest, like I couldn't really get through it. Like I watched I think 3 episodes, and I don't know. It's like it has not aged well in many ways. Like I don't actually, things like the sets and special effects don't bother me, but sometimes like it just feels like some of the interactions just feel very dated. Like I think I mentioned this like in The Cage, which is technically the original pilot. You had like I don't even remember who it was, like a crewman like bringing food to Captain Pike. It was just like so odd. Like they
had yeomen back then, so yeomen would bring food. They were all women at the time. They would bring...
was it? It wasn't.
It was a role.
It was yeomen. Okay.
Yeah. So
and like I mean, some of the comments and some of the dialogue was just very sexist. It kind of like, it was to the point where I was just like, all right. But then like sometimes it was just, it just seemed like the dialogue just seemed silly or awkward. It's hard for me to really put my finger on it, but it just feels dated. It like
Oh, for sure.
you know,
Yeah,
like
it's definitely
stilted dialogue, awkward moments. The acting wasn't very good. Like, you know, there were just I just had this confluence of issues with it, to the point where I was really not interested in continuing. So, you know, like obviously I am very critical when it comes to my entertainment and what I consume. And I get
Well,
it. You know,
I almost think that you should watch it like you're watching, like we're watching Voyager, which is kind of pick and choose, because I can tell you some of my favorite episodes and some of the good ones. Like
true.
in preparation for this, I did watch the Galileo 7 and Who Mourns for Adonis or Adonias. I don't know how to say it exactly.
I don't think I've definitely seen some TOS episodes, but I wouldn't be surprised it was fewer than 10, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, well, these two particular had more action or more dialogue from Uhura, so that's partly why I watched these episodes.
It's not just communication channels open or whatever.
Yeah, hailing frequencies open.
Hailing frequencies open.
Yeah, it wasn't just that.
I have watched all the films at least, so there's that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like, you know, I even though I've never been a big TOS fan, I definitely respect TOS. In obviously, it's part of the canon. It is where Star Trek first started. I'm a huge Star Trek fan, and I think it's, you know, I think even if the actual execution of it may have been very spotty, I think that the intention behind it was always very noble. I think that the casting of Nichelle Nichols as Uhura, even though she was somewhat slighted in the amount of dialogue that she got, the amount of scenes that she got, I think that the intentionality was there. Obviously, we have the first interracial kiss on national TV, you know, on broadcast
Which
television.
really wasn't a kiss, but
right. It was more like, yeah, they were like possessed by aliens or whatever, right?
Forced
yeah. So there were things like that I totally recognize. And I like Nichelle Nichols, you know, like I think that she's great. I definitely enjoyed her in the films. I think that she has a wonderful personality, and I totally respect her, particularly for her. You know, she's obviously very vocal. She's not afraid to voice her opinion, as we saw in the documentary. You know, overall, the documentary, I like the documentary. I think that 15 minutes could have been shaved off. So in terms of the structure of the documentary, we can quickly go over that. So you already talked about the setup. It was a very quick, speedy overview of her Star Trek career, her being introduced to Star Trek, being Gene Roddenberry, playing Uhura, 3 seasons. It's over. You know, like
I did love how she was carrying a book called Uhuru. And that's how they got Uhura's name. Was when she was talking to Gene about it.
There's some cool like tidbits like that in there.
Yeah.
And then you go into her stint at NASA, where she's like, yeah, where are the minorities? Where are the women? And she took up the challenge of helping NASA basically recruit people that they normally wouldn't go after when it comes to, I guess they recruited usually through the military or something like that. I'm not even familiar with like exactly how.
Yeah, primarily through fighter pilots and things like that. So they didn't really have a huge pool. And what drove this too was the space shuttle program. So
right.
The advent of the space shuttle program. So I guess it was more because the Enterprise space shuttle was from 79 to 80. So she was kind of working, maybe it was the late 70s then that this was sort of taking place, but or the bulk of her work, because she did get something like 8,000 people to apply in the course
Right.
of 4 months, 4 to 6 months, I think it was. So, and I love the map of showing all the places that she went. Like, she was traveling solid for 4 months from all
Yeah.
over the place. And I just thought that was, she created the company Women in Motion in order to do this.
Right. I did not.
So
Did she create it just for this purpose, or did it
initially, I
something
think
that-
so. Yeah. I
Okay.
think that was my understanding from the documentary, is she created this company in order to do the work for NASA.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, so, which is great, wow, to a woman creating, let alone a Black woman creating a company in 1978 to do this work, which was amazing. And so the next part of the film is really just taking you through that whole recruitment process.
Mm-hmm.
You get to see some of the stuff that they recorded for commercials and promotional things. So that was kind of cool to see.
Yeah, I mean, and there were some cool talking head moments of retired astronauts that were obviously speaking to how Uhura's efforts really was critical in their recruitment. Their, whatever they did, and as I don't remember,
Well, and they
cool.
all met Nichelle, and they knew Nichelle, and so it was
right.
She was heavily involved in this, and and so it was, it actually, so obviously we make our way through that. She completes that assignment. She gets these 8,000 people, and then the space shuttle program launches, and you get to go through some history of NASA in the first.
So this was a part that I kind of got bored, and I actually fell asleep a little bit. So you reach basically. So again, history of Nichelle on Star Trek, then her introduction to NASA and the space shuttle recruitment for the space shuttle program. Then she basically wraps up, her recruitment efforts, and then they go into this segment that goes a little bit into the history of the space shuttle program leading up to the Challenger disaster. I was bored the fuck out of my mind, because the problem with this segment is that Nichelle kind of took a back seat, because it was mostly focused on it was mostly the talking heads around NASA and like all the things are leading up to the Challenger disaster. Nichelle did have an emotional connection to a Challenger disaster, so they tied that in.
Yeah, they brought that back around.
There was like 8 to 10 minutes without Nichelle. And the thing is, the problem here is that I feel the first 2/3 is really compelling because you have Nichelle kind of driving the narrative. And then we kind of shift away from Nichelle, because then you're getting into the actual program itself, which she was not really involved in. So she can't really speak to it. So then I was like, where's Nichelle? Where's Nichelle? I was like, where is she? And then she did appear, because once the Challenger disaster hit, she knew people that died on that shuttle. So
she knew 4 of them. And
so,
that actually
right. So I feel they spent too much time kind of like building up to that. And I was like, where's Nichelle? So I kind of got bored. But then the end was fine. And then
well, I mean, and for me, so I remember the Challenger disaster. I mean,
I don't recall at all.
Yeah, you're a little bit younger than I am, but I remember being in school and hearing about it and not believing it. I was like, a shuttle can't just explode. That's impossible. And then I went home and I saw it over and over and over again on the news that night. And so watching this documentary and reliving that, and seeing also how even to this day, Nichelle is still deeply impacted by the loss of, I think it was astronaut Resnick, Judy Resnick. I think she was really
sounds familiar.
Yeah. So, but so I actually went and looked up the Challenger crew again. I mean, I know their faces, but didn't know their names, and I wanted to kind of contextualize that with the documentary. And she brought in 4. So there were 2 women on that crew that she obviously had an impact and brought into the program, and also a Black one of the 3 black astronauts, black men, and I forget whether he was Japanese or Chinese. I think he was probably Japanese. But another astronaut who was a minority. So it was. I'm doing a quick search of
Googling?
Challenger. Yeah, and just
Okay.
good. So Ellison Onizuka. So he's from Hawaii, but he's a minority, considered a
Okay.
minority.
Okay.
He was brought into the program because of her as well. So yeah, it was Judy Resnick.
Okay.
Ron McNair was one of 3 black men astronauts, and then Krista McAuliffe, who was I think she was the teacher, right? She was the American teacher.
But my long and short of it is that they probably could have cut 10 to 15 minutes, but it was already not a very long documentary.
Yeah, it became. Yeah, it wasn't. It was only 90 minutes. I find the history of NASA interesting, and certainly about the space shuttle program interesting. So I wasn't bothered by that. But when they did get to the Challenger disaster, that that brought back a lot of memories for me, and it was powerful to see how affected Nichelle was by that. So, so. And she in fact stopped the interview because she was so emotionally upset by remembering that. So that was a powerful moment. And then towards the end, I actually don't remember that point kind of didn't end it for me, but that's the moment that I'm kind of fixated on, and I can't remember. I thought the rest of it was good, and nothing really clearly stands out for the rest of it.
Yeah, I don't remember. I mean, it wrapped up, but I don't remember. I don't really remember the rest of the documentary.
Yeah. So I don't really. I don't know. I don't remember.
Okay, the rest of the documentary covered how the space shuttle program stalled, but it continued, and then it finished. Like, I remember them talking about that. I remember them covering basically the end of the space shuttle program.
Yeah, well, I mean, they covered it.
I don't remember the rest.
Yeah, I mean, I bought it, so I have it. I can go back and watch it again.
So you can watch it again and again. I only rented it, so I watched it the one time.
Yeah. But you watched it before I did, so I was kind of cognizant of the fact that you said you fell asleep during it, so I was curious where that happened. But that didn't happen for me. I mean, I had to watch it in 2 sittings because I something came up in the middle of watching it, but yeah, I didn't feel like at any time for me it wasn't long. I thought it was really powerful to see Nichelle's story, to see how she impacted NASA, and then to see, I do love NASA history, so watching that and then bringing it back to Nichelle when the Challenger disaster happened, and then the rest. But she really, even to this day, she's just an elegant, wonderful human being who, I feel actually honored that I got to meet her in person, that I get to have a picture with her. I think that she did a lot for women and for Star Trek and broadening our horizons and all of that. And I think that it's she is getting up there in age, and it will be a sad day when she does go and to live among the stars again. And but then there's been a lot of controversy around her over the last couple of years about her estate and and her health, and so I don't really know what's kind of going on with her at the moment. Other than, I mean, she did do this documentary, I would say, in the last year or two.
I think, yes. I think that it was technically finished in 2019.
Yeah.
So I don't know when.
Yeah, I mean, I highly recommend it if you're interested in early days of Nichelle Nichols' career, of early days of Star Trek, and how she, was definitely sidelined and didn't have a lot to say and was just kind of there. But The other thing I noticed too in watching the 2 episodes I did was, a lot of the shots have her in it. And I think that that's really important. Like one of the shots that stands out to me was you see Captain Kirk in the command chair and you see Uhura right behind him. And that's it on the screen as they go to commercial, right? So that's where the break happens. And, I think that that's really kind of powerful. Back then, I'm sure it was even more powerful. So those sorts of things really stick out for me. But, anytime that she got to do more, that was kind of one of the things she did say in there. Anytime I get to leave the bridge and do something more was her favorite episodes.
She's funny.
Yeah, so
yeah,
she is. Yeah.
And, and she has opinions, which is great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's really, I highly recommend it to anyone who has interest in NASA or Nichelle Nichols' early career. I think it's worth it. You can rent it.
You can rent it for $2.99.
$2.99, or you can buy it for $12.99. I definitely think it's worth it either way, whatever you decide. But it's a really great documentary, and it's good. We are forever indebted to Nichelle Nichols and for all she did and does.
Yeah, I recommend, even though I'm not into documentaries, I do recommend it, especially as Mike's saying, if you are a Nichelle Nichols fan, a Star Trek fan, a NASA fan, I think that this film does a great job covering all those bases. So
yeah,
$2.99 HD, $1.99 SD if you want to go that route. Yeah, I thought it was good. And again, not the biggest aficionado when it comes to the original series or documentaries, but I did enjoy this.
There we go.
So there we are. Anything else? Any other thoughts on Women in Motion?
No, I think I've said everything. I think, I'm a huge fan of Nichelle. So I wish her as prosperous life as she can have at this point in her life.
I don't want to live that long. She's in her 80s, right?
Probably, yeah. At least I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't even know.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, as recent as a couple of years ago, she was doing, Comic-Cons, and
Amazing.
she has been doing. She's done a couple of these. What was originally called Star Trek Renegades before CBS kind of locked down on what you could do for fan films and whatnot. And so,
that's right. Wasn't it directed by like Tim Ross or something?
Yeah. There were
I saw like a clip and it looked terrible. It looked really bad.
I mean, I've watched it a while ago. I don't, it's a
fan film.
It's a fan film. Yeah. It's not a big budget movie. It's not Discovery. It's not like cinematic but a lot of people have real passion for it. And so, she has done some acting even to this day in some of those series. So so definitely check it out. And Women in Motion.
Yes, Women in Motion. Cool.
All right.
Should we move on to off topic?
Let's do it.
Awesome. So, Mike, what have you been watching other than Star Trek?
So, I mean, I don't know if have I talked about Babylon 5 at all yet? I don't know that we have. No.
I do not remember.
So Babylon 5 is currently one of my jams. And I can't say enough. I mean, you want to do an episode on The Expanse. I want to do multiple episodes on Babylon 5.
Oh man. So I still because you convinced me to watch the I guess the 2-hour movie or whatever.
Yeah.
I still haven't gone through it. I fell asleep 3 times.
Well, you've been working a lot. I don't think that the interest. I think do
I need to watch this movie or can I just go into episode 1?
I think you can go into episode 1.
I can.
So yeah.
Okay.
I mean, yeah. I mean, you can go back and watch it. It does give a little bit more context because it is the year before. So,
Oh.
and some of the characters do change.
Okay.
So there's that. But yeah, I mean,
Commodore O.
right.
Shout out.
Yes.
Whatever her name is.
Yes.
I don't remember.
Lieutenant Commander Takashima.
No, I mean her real name, not her name on Babylon 5, the movie.
Well, her name is not Commander O on Babylon
I understand.
5.
I was trying to get to her real name, but she does make an appearance. And I was like, it's Commander O. And then Mike was like, who are you talking about? And yeah, it took a second. But I was like, yeah, you know, I mean, it's been how many years? Like 30 years. But she's still, I recognized her immediately, you know, Asian genes. What can I say?
I mean, it's been somewhere around 25 years, I think.
Still a lot.
Yeah. So I've been watching that and I've been really enjoyed it. So I've already in season 2. I binged through season 1. I'm slowing down because of other things, but
life
and stuff. So yeah, so it's just an amazing show. I mean, it's perfect for if they would just take that and redo that now. It's such a rich world building show. I love it. I mean, it is so, there's so many alien races that were thought out for this. There's so much history, like thousands of years of history.
The CGI is a little distracting because
a little bit.
It's not terrible, but it totally reminds me of like games back in the 90s, like CD-ROM games.
Yeah,
like,
no, it's all CGI. It's all
did
CGI.
you ever play
computer.
you know, this is a throwback, but did you ever play Star Fox for the Super Nintendo? Do you remember that game?
Vaguely. I don't know that ever. Yeah.
It was special because it was a Super Nintendo game, and the Super Nintendo is a 16-bit system, right? So it can't really do 3D, but it can do like layers, like Super Mario World. You have the background scrolling,
right? Yeah.
Like layers like that.
Yeah.
Star Fox was cool because it can actually render 3D polygons like in real time, and that was really cool. And they did it through a chip. They did it through a chip in the cartridge, so it supplemented what was in the console.
Oh wow!
In any case, this reminded me of Star Fox. It was like 3D polygons. I was like, I
mean, I think it's a little bit better than that, but it's definitely early days.
It's like marginally better.
Yeah, I mean, it's computer generated images.
I know, but you know what? That gave me an appreciation for Star Trek because these like real studio models that they slave over. Right. So you get this like quality that you wouldn't get through just a CGI generated whatever. It's incredible the amount of work that goes into these studio models.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Any case.
So I mean,
it's also very, very expensive.
Yeah, both are, I think, and I don't know why. I mean, I want to say that maybe CGI was a little less expensive than creating models of all these things. I don't know. But they did a lot. I mean, I think part of the charm or part of the nostalgia or even the novelty of this show was the CGI, because it was one of the first shows that did CGI. Yeah, I mean, which for me, like watching it now, I mean, it's really. I mean, I'm not really picking up on its lack of high definition quality. You know, I mean, it was pretty good and. So yeah, it's the
movie. So watching the movie and it's you know, I talked about this. They stretch
the movies.
Do they do
the,
that with the episodes too?
No, they don't. No.
Okay, it's actually a little distracting because you can tell that it was stretched. Like
so that movie. So that is not the original. That is not the original pilot, right? That's actually like a 5 year later or a couple year later remake of it, where they did stretch it. For TNT did stretch it, I think, or whatever, but it was not. It's not the original episode called The Gathering. Yeah. So yeah, and they added. I think they might have even added some of the overlay with some of the totally lost my train of thought.
I don't know what you're trying to say, bitch. What are you trying to say?
I don't know.
Okay.
Can you mark this down so we can edit this out?
What? Why? This is our banter.
You know why? Because my nephew just texted me and he doesn't. So it was like, what?
Wait, what?
Is
What about
going
your nephew?
on? Now my nephew needs tech support help for one of his games, and he's
I thought you said your nephew listens to our podcast and he would be like, why is Johnson dropping the F-bomb every 3 minutes?
No. My nephew is still too young to listen to explicit lyrics.
Explicit. We are marked explicit in the Apple's iTunes.
All because of Johnson.
It's all because of me.
Yes.
Okay, whatever. All right, continue your thought process. Babylon 5. Keep on going.
I forget where we left off.
You were talking about season 2. You're like going through season 2. It's like your thing right now.
That's what I was going through. But they definitely the original Gathering was definitely lower budget than the actual show. So the show is a little bit higher quality. I mean, the makeup is better.
Okay.
So there's a lot of reasons to keep going or to get right into the series, but it does give a nice backdrop to like the alienness of it, and it does give away one part about the story that does make sense later on. Anyway, so I'm really enjoying that. That's what I'm watching most of the time. Trying to think what else have I been watching. I went back and made sure I watched. So I've always watched Schitt's Creek with Dennis, right? So I never knew when I actually jumped in. Well, now I went back and I watched it from the very beginning season, which I saw the first episode, but I had never seen the rest of the first season.
Okay.
And into like the first couple of episodes of second season. So I finally watched that. So now I am a Schitt's Creek completist and have watched it. So did that.
Okay.
What else we've been watching? I am watching, we're halfway through The Little Things.
Is that the HBO?
Yeah. That's the HBO movie that's leaving in 5 days. So Rami Malek, I guess, has a Golden Globe nomination for it.
Is it a series or a movie?
No, it's just a movie. So but we watched half of that last night. I'm trying to think, I just watched today while I was doing work, I watched an Agatha Christie's Poirot Murder on the Orient Express, which is one of my favorites. Watched that on BritBox.
Is this a new one?
No, this is so they did, David Suchet, I think he's saying his name right, was Poirot for like 13 or 14 seasons. And so I mean they're they used to be on PBS Mystery or Masterpiece Theater, that sort of thing.
I remember PBS Mystery.
Yeah, so that's that's where we saw it here, even though it's a British show. And then then it became more mainstream. I think A&E carried it for a while, or a few other networks. So that's on BritBox, and that's my favorite detective. Even I love Sherlock Holmes, but Poirot is by far my second favorite. And
wait, what's it called?
Hercule Poirot.
Huh?
I can't speak French, so I don't know.
Whatever.
Agatha Christie's Poirot, Poirot, but it's French. So anyway, he's Belgian. But anyway, so I watched an episode of that today while I was doing work. So I think that's pretty much it. Obviously, we're both watching WandaVision.
Yes, so good.
Yeah,
I think it's really good.
So if you're not watching that,
spoilers.
Let's not spoil it because it just happened, and I was fortunate enough to go a couple of days. And
we don't need to talk about the most recent episode. I mean, like when I first started watching it, I was like, okay. I mean, we talked a little bit about it, and there were some cool moments, but I think it really picked up in episode 3, which is when I think is it episode 3, episode 4, when they like go to the outside world, and
that
when
context we get the outside
really accelerated.
Yeah,
it was, and I've been like,
because the first 2 episodes were all like 50s comedy and then a 60s comedy,
right? And you had a few like dark moments, and you were like, "What's happening?"
Yeah,
but once they kind of started to reveal the real world and start to kind of straddle both, it really picked up.
Yeah, it really did. And this is a episode 6 spoiler, but when she expanded the thing and it took over the base.
Oh, that was cool.
That was
Very
really cool. Yeah.
cool.
So so
I'm not gonna spoil it, but I did, the most recent episode when the villain is revealed, I guess. I mean, we'll have to see exactly the context and everything. I was a little like,
yeah,
who this? I think we were both the same. Like, who this?
I'm imagining that most people had to Google or figure that shit out, unless you are like we are about
hardcore Marvel fan.
Yeah,
I was like, I have no idea.
Yeah,
it rang zero bells.
Yeah, if someone knows Marvel as well as we know Star Trek, then they probably know.
Yeah,
who this,
but I mean, I've been reading fan theories and stuff like that, but no one said this. I was like, it was completely out of left field. I was like, okay. So
I guess there's more left field stuff to come. I did read an interview with Paul Bettany, who lives here in New York, by the way. But he said that there are 3 cameos. Three cameos, one of which who he has never worked with this actor before, and he was super excited to do so. So that's not been spoiled yet, or that hasn't been spoiled or revealed on the show. So
I told you when they revealed Evan Peters, who I know you didn't make the connection.
I did not make the connection.
But when they did reveal Evan Peters at the end of episode 5, I think episode 5, I was legit screaming.
Yeah, you were. I had no. I mean, I semi recognize him, but I was like, okay, whatever. And the way that Darcy said they recast him,
right?
That was fine. He looked familiar, but I didn't place him from the Fox franchise,
right?
Piece of it.
Because I'm a huge fan of Days of Future Past, which features him heavily.
Okay,
you remember that one?
Go back I don't remember that one.
Well, that was when
a while.
They had like the future, like Patrick Stewart, Ian McKellen, but then they go back in time to like the 60s, and then you have the First Class as well. Do you remember this?
Oh, it was pre-First Class.
No. You had First Class, and then you had Days of Future Past.
Oh, okay. That has been a while.
And I watched Days of Future Past because it is Chef's Kiss, probably the best, in my opinion, the best X-Men film.
Okay, all right. I thought First Class was pretty good, but I think it was First Class. Maybe which one had the Cuban Missile Crisis?
First Class.
Okay, yeah.
So it was a sequel to First Class.
Okay, all right.
I mean, it's like not ringing many bells. I think you should rewatch.
Yeah, I should go back and watch it. Yeah, for sure.
Good.
Maybe it is on Disney Plus. Is it on Disney Plus yet? Do they have it yet?
I don't know.
Interesting. So WandaVision is definitely the hot show right now. I have been watching The Watch on BBC America.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I still have. I did watch that earlier today as well. Today's been like sort of a work and TV day.
Yeah, I was like, are you working?
I mean, I'm available and doing work. Yes.
Okay.
So yeah. But. Yeah, I was watching that, but I really only caught up. I'm halfway through the 7th episode, so I think the finale was 8. So
okay,
but it's really good. It's kind of different and interesting, and has a trans character in it. So I thought that's really cool.
Well, I don't have access to this BBC or British app or whatever. What's it called again?
No. It's not from BritBox. It's this is on BBC America.
Oh, BBC America.
Yeah.
Well, I also don't have cable. So.
Oh, okay. Well, we don't have cable either. I use my sister's login.
Oh, okay. That's fine.
So that's what I'm watching. What about you? What's your? I know you're on this huge Voyager.
I know.
Are you watching anything else?
No, I'm just watching. So WandaVision, which again, I'm kind of looking forward to every week. And then I've just been binging Voyager. I have not been watching every episode. I am in season 5 now. And I just watch.
You're gonna surpass
Well,
me
you're
very
on
soon.
pause. You're on pause. So
I
I
am
just
on
watched
pause.
Think Tank, the Jason Alexander cameo. Remember?
Oh, okay.
Do you remember that one?
Vaguely.
It's a big deal.
I might have.
You know who Jason Alexander is?
Of course, I know who Jason
All right,
Alexander
you know what?
is.
You're like, oh no, there was like no recognition. All right, well,
You
there
know
was
why? Because I
stunt
actually don't.
casting.
I actually don't love Jason Alexander.
Oh, really?
I really don't. Yeah. No.
Do you not like Jason Alexander, or do you not like George?
I don't. I abhor George.
So
and
you're not a
therefore
fan of George Costanza.
and therefore by example, Jason Alexander.
Okay. I mean, I don't really know what else has been in.
I'm
other
sure.
than
Yeah, I'm
Seinfeld
sure I
and
watched the
Think Tank.
episode, but yeah, I am not a fan of his. So
Okay. Well, his
I may
character.
have skipped it.
All right. Well, his character on Think Tank is a little bit different. He does not give off like George Costanza vibes by any means.
Okay.
I mean, it was totally stunt casting. I think season 5 was season 5 Think Tank, and then season 5 I think also had The Rock. So it was like, I think it was like the stunt casting season.
Okay.
But I think
Yawn.
Think Tank is better than that Rock episode. Starts with a T. I don't remember what it's called. Do you remember?
To Kansai.
Is it
Kansai?
Whatever.
Something like that.
I
Yeah.
also decided to skip the episode The Fight. Do you remember that one? I think it's Chakotay. He's like in a vision quest or something. He needs to
Oh yeah, I skipped that.
I was like,
Probably skipped that one,
absolutely not. Absolutely not.
But anyway, this isn't what did you Star Trek this week. This is on
I'm sorry.
topic.
No, so
But
okay, so,
wait.
What?
So we do have new For All Mankind, which neither one of us have started watching yet, right?
Right. Well, this week.
No, it's already on.
It's on? It's out?
Yes.
Really?
Are we gonna have to adjust the audio levels here for you?
Wait.
Oh my gosh.
How many episodes did they release?
The premiere dropped last Friday.
Oh, okay.
I think. Okay. I mean, I've not checked.
You know, I
specifically
just,
how many episodes.
I did not, unfortunately, look at my Apple TV.
For All Mankind season. Oh wait,
I never
it's
look
going
at my
into the show. I don't want to do that.
Season 2. Oh, it started playing. Incorrect.
Yeah, it did that for me too.
Yeah,
So
I just want to go to the show page. I don't want to.
I know exactly. Well, anyway, so here's the show page. Okay, let's see. Maybe this For All Mankind.
Oh yeah, so only episode 1. Episode 1. Okay.
Yeah, only episode 1. So there we go.
Okay.
So that started up. So
oh
you can add that
wow.
to your watch list.
Okay. Hey.
So we have that. WandaVision has 2 more episodes. We have that.
Yes.
So
yeah. And then so I'm very excited for All Mankind. WandaVision is, I'm sure, gonna get exciting. And I also, this is me.
Why are you hugging the microphone?
Oh, I'm just being emphatic.
He's making love to the microphone right now, audience members.
Whatever. So I did actually see an ad today. So hey, marketing works. But I saw an ad today for this new NBC show called Debris. Have you heard of this show?
No, I have no idea. Not heard of this at all.
You should watch the show. I actually thought it was really fascinating. It's one of those NBC shows.
It's out already?
What?
You've watched it already?
No, it comes out like March 1st or something.
Oh, okay.
I'm just anticipating it. But unfortunately, it's one of these like mystery box shows where it's like, what's happening? But it's also NBC, so it might get canceled after like 1 season because usually that's what they do.
Probably it will.
I don't trust broadcast networks anymore, but it totally has. Did you ever watch Fringe? Were you ever a fan?
Oh yeah, I watched Fringe. I watched Fringe for a couple seasons.
It's totally like Fringe. I loved Fringe. Fringe was so good. It's totally like that. It's like you have like 2, like a man and a woman. They're investigators or like something. And there's like this like a natural like sci-fi phenomenon. Like there's these objects fall to Earth. They all have different properties, and then they have to track them down. It totally reminded me of Fringe. It's like, you know how Fringe.
Oh, okay.
You know how Fringe, like each episode was like, it was like a thing of the week.
Figure.
It was like the scientific curiosity
mystery of the week.
Mystery of the week, right? It was like an object, like
Okay.
Fringe Science, right? That was the whole thing.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah.
Phenomenon
Yeah.
or whatever. Totally like that. Like they totally give me Fringe vibes. I love Fringe. Big X-Files fan. So I'm like, oh, what is this?
That's what I was thinking. X-Files. It sounds more
Yeah,
X-Files.
totally. Well, yeah, I think Fringe was the definitely a spiritual sequel to the X-Files for sure. If not direct.
Well, the season 1 cliffhanger for Fringe still is in my mind to this day. I mean,
think
the
about
minute you
season
say
2 when
Fringe,
she's in like the Twin Towers.
Isn't that season 1? No,
season 2. Season 2
Oh,
because
okay,
it was so memorable, bitch. That was like what I was like. That was a total like mind blown. What the fuck? Like
yeah, that's the term is mind fuck. That was mind fuck.
that was crazy. Because she met Larry Nimoy in the Twin Towers.
Yeah,
I was like,
oh
what?
my gosh,
It was so good. No, Fringe. I mean, I would say season 4. I got a little bit tired, but seasons 1 through 3, so good, so good.
I think I watched the first 3 seasons and didn't.
And Leonard Nimoy, he wasn't a regular, but that made it more special when he, was on. It was so good.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is not.
All right. So Debris is something
Debris.
to check out. All right.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll give that a shot if we have room in our tight schedule of viewing.
I mean, it might just last one season, so we'll see. But
yeah. And then it'll be on Netflix, maybe. Oh no, it'll probably go to Peacock. So
it's on Peacock. So yes, the ad was like, it's like on NBC March 1st, on Peacock the next day. I'm like, oh my god, Peacock. I can't. I think I have Peacock, but I haven't looked at it since I watched.
No, I haven't. I mean, you have to pay for it, I imagine.
It's like no, they have free content, but it's like some of it's gated. So I don't know if this is going to be gated or not, but it'll be annoying if it is. I have not accessed Peacock for many months. Whatever. Oh, Tiger Woods. Unfortunate.
Yes.
Sorry. That was like I opened the Peacock app and that was like, the main news story. So anyway, that was like all over the place. In any case, here we are. So anything else when it comes to off topic?
No, I think that's it. I think we should wrap this up.
Because you have to go cook your frozen meat.
Well, I have class tonight too. I have.
I have a class like in 30 minutes.
So we'd love to hear what you are watching during this dry spell of no new Star Trek. And I know actually one of our listeners, I think his name is Simon, is watching 24, which we had a short discussion about on Twitter. So
what? 24?
24.
Like with Kiefer Sutherland?
Yes.
What does that have to do with Star Trek?
It was what he's watching. He shared with us on Twitter that he was watching 24. So, but he has also started watching Babylon 5 as well, although he did have some glitches with it, which I did not experience. So
with HBO Max?
Yeah. He said one of the episodes was glitchy. But anyway, we'd love to hear what else other people are watching during this time, or if if you have any suggestions for favorite TOS episodes that Johnson could watch.
I've watched a few gems. Like I watched. Wait, what do I watch?
There are 79 episodes.
City Forever. Obviously, I had to watch.
Okay,
that. I watched Devil in the Dark.
Another good one.
The
Yes.
Horda.
Yeah. Have you watched Balance of Terror?
I feel like I did. We talked about this. I watched the one where Kirk thinks that he's a Native American on a distant planet. Remember?
Okay. I remember the episode. I can't think of what it's called, the name of it. No. But anyway. Balance
and he has
of
a
Terror
baby,
is one of
but then the fetus dies because she dies. They get stoned to that.
These are the things. Really? I don't remember.
Yeah, because they didn't want Kirk to have a baby, so they were like, let's just kill her off along with the fetus.
Okay. I don't remember any of this.
Read the Memory Alpha article. They didn't want to complicate things. So
anyway, well, if you have suggestions, other episodes to suggest to Johnson to watch, you can email us at deepspacepride@gmail.com.
I need to watch one, Abraham Lincoln. Is that one? Abraham Lincoln?
Yes, that is one. Yes. I don't remember what it's called though. I do not have the names memorized.
Or the
But
one
you are cutting me off every time I
I'm
try
sorry.
to-
It's like stream of consciousness. Is that the one with the big hand? Do you know what I'm talking about?
That's the other one that I watched. Who Mourns for Adonis?
Oh, okay.
That's with the god Apollo. Yes.
Okay, right.
And there is a good scene in there with Uhura and Spock.
You know, as critical as I am of Discovery and how it veers off from like real sci-fi, I would have to say that sometimes TOS took some liberties with the straddling of science fiction and fantasy. So
Absolutely.
yeah, continue.
Yes.
What were we talking about?
Well, I was trying to tell people how to get in touch with us, but so far you've run over everything I've said. So this will be a fun editing job to make any sense of this, and our Patreon subscribers will get one hell of a raw episode. So anyway,
I'll let you finish.
Are you sure?
Yes.
I'm afraid to even start talking.
Keep on going.
So if you have any suggestions on episodes of TOS that Johnson should watch, or if you want to just let us know what you're watching during this dry spell of no new Star Trek after 23 weeks of new Star Trek, you can email us at deepspacepride@gmail.com, or you can DM us on Instagram and Twitter
Not
at
Facebook.
deepspacepride. And you did it again. You cut me off.
I was just, contributing.
Nobody asked you to contribute.
So for those folks that are wondering, what are Mike and Johnson going to be talking about next? Well, it is almost March. March is next Monday. Oh my God, February is almost over. So we are entering. I was like, what's the month? Women's History Month. I was like getting mixed up because there's International Women's Day, and that's like mid-March, not Women's History Month.
Correct. Yes.
So yes, March is
15th.
March is Women's History Month. So this episode is a perfect springboard between Black History Month and Women's History Month, because we just talked about Uhura / Nichelle Nichols. So next week, in celebration of Women's History Month, we are going to be talking about the women of the next generation. So I'm not quite sure the structure of that podcast and how we're going to structure it and what we're going to talk about exactly. But we'll see. When we get there, we will see. So join us next time when we launch our celebration of women in Star Trek.
There we go. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great week. We'll talk to you.
Yes. Enjoy / survive your week, and we will see you all soon.
See you later.
Bye.
Deep Space Pride is a production of Coconut Media Works. Executive producers Bill Smith and Dan Davidson. For more great Star Trek discussion, discover the other shows of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network at trekgeeks.com, or find us in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app.
Coconut